breather. Hey, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio, and we're going over a painting of a fond memory. And the memory isn't just about the portrait. The memory includes the scene, the location, the place, the type of day, the climate. It's a package. And what happens with that is when you put your darks in first, sometimes the depth and beauty you get by using transparent colors is absolutely wonderful. Especially when you start to play the opaques against it and you have this thick and thin and transparent colors and glazes and oiling out and painting. And other times you have to be very careful when you use color in your darks instead of actually the darks that match the picture. Because you have to keep in mind the painting is never about the person. It's about how you handle the color, the contrast, the pattern, the texture, and the elements which tell me about the person. So sometimes I use color in my darks, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I use color in my darks in certain places, and sometimes I don't. And let's talk about that. Let's kind of go over this. This is a beautiful person, not just the artist. This is a beautiful person of which the artist feels very fondly about. Living in some Ireland, Scotland, some rainy, cold place. Where is it? Close, England, same thing. Though those people wouldn't say that. Same thing. That's like, never mind, I'll get out of here before I get in trouble. So clumping in countries that are all together and they're not. Never mind. Okay. I lost my train of thought. So let's get started. Okay, so what happens is, and you can zoom in, beautiful, and then hit manual. Perfect, thank you. So what happens is, when you use the sap green, maybe even a little raw umber and sap green, and maybe a little viridian here and there, what were the colors that you used? So I want to experiment, and I'm going to take some cobalt. Now, this is going to be a pretty color, so I have to do it where I want you to look. So like, if I want to make this cluster here come forward, I might put the cobalt in here. And just a little bit to perk it up. Another color I could use in that spot is alizarin. And notice I didn't do a lot of it, so I'll do a little alizarin. And then I can go back in there with more cobalt, leaving some of the alizarin. Now these are transparent colors, and they are darker and more beautiful than the sap and raw umber, but not a lot. So let me show you it another way. So she has her flowers here, and she's putting in her darks. If my alizarin could be just, well, let's do it with my color. Let's start with sap. We use the sap because of the warmth of the psychological feel. So using sap green in some of the places, but when you do it, notice how I've kind of left spots white. Okay, so then, but there's a hint of coolness, so I'm going to go to a cooler green, a blue green, and I'll put some of the blue green in, and notice how I'm leaving some of the spots white. Now I'm going to go into with the sap. Can it zoom in a little more, or is that it? Okay, so now I'm into the cobalt blue, and I'm putting the blue in the white spots, but I'm going to go ahead and start to mix into these colors and making a dark color. And then she liked the raw umber. So the raw umber has a warmer feel to it. It's going to be quite ugly. So I'm going to do it farther away and then kind of meander it in places, leaving some of the touches of the lighter color. I could even do the alizarin. And red and green make black. So you're going to get a few strokes where the red show up, and then your second or third stroke is going to turn black. So you could do it on the edge of the pink and then let it blend into the black. But now I got to reload my brush. See, it's already changed the color of my paint from red to black. So I'll wipe it off. Notice no cleaner, I'm just using a rough rag. And then I'm grabbing the alizarin and I'm putting it down. I'm leaving that pretty green there, but I'll put it right here and then blend it out by the time I do 3 strokes. So all of a sudden there's a difference, a little bit of difference, isn't there? Just barely. You see it in real life more than on the screen or that camera. So you have to decide, okay, it's England and it's rainy and it's wet. It's dreary. Or is it, wow, it's spring. I love spring. The flowers are coming. It's going to be beautiful. This is so exciting. So I have 2 different ways to start. When I make my blacks and the paint's about color, the painting's about color, my blacks are made with colors. When the painting's about contrast, my blacks are made with the grays, the darks, and the blacks. Now, can she bring this back? Sure. What if we just add a little white to some of her colors, to make it a little more opaque? Now be careful, because I still love the depth that you get with a transparent color. So when she goes in here with the cobalt, let's go ahead and just add a little white to it. And maybe scumble it. Scumbling, so now I'm just going to drag over the bumps. Now again, I'm not putting it where I don't want you to look, only in the area where I want you to look, because color is going to bring attention. So now I'm dragging some blue in there, and that's really more what I was thinking today. That worked nicely. Okay, other colors I could try. How about some red with white? Okay, this isn't going to work as well, but it's not my painting, so I'm not afraid to try. But also there's a lot of wet paint, so I know I can mix it to the wet paint and make my gray. So my first stroke, if I do it over here, my first stroke's going to be real bright. You're going to see it. So, but if I mix it into the paint a little bit, it won't be so pretty. And then, oh, well, you did say green now, didn't you? So we could do some green and white. And then we could take your pink color and we could push up the halftone. The halftone is the area between the sun and the shadow that rolls, and we could make it just a little brighter in some of those areas. And then go back to your actual color, and your color has a little warmth in it, so it's more of a because right now the intensity is too much the same. The vibrancy is too much the same.
Was that alizarin and white that you just put? Did you go
I went
warmer?
to Cad Red and white.
Okay, yeah, warmer. Okay.
Yeah, when I add white, I go warmer.
Okay.
So I went from alizarin, I skipped the Cad Red Deep, went right to Cad Red. Okay, and then if that wasn't light enough, I'd go Cad Scarlet with white. So as I go even lighter in the sun out here, I would be in the Cad Scarlets. So when you add white, you've got to get warmer. So she got so consumed with telling a story and a message, she forgot that everything changes temperature, everything changes intensity. And when something's the same too long, it sometimes is distracting and takes you away from the message. And in a drawing, if the line is the same too long, it's flat, stiff, not realistic. So you lose and find your edges. Here you got to lose and find your vibrancy of your color, lose and find your edges, your intensity, and you still have to change temperature. So you don't get to skip any of the drawing exercises. And you don't skip any of the beginning painting exercises because you have to execute it. So is that different? And then she says, but I still like what she had better than what I did. So what if I take some of that away and gray it a little bit?